At the welcome home dinner, my parents' adopted daughter, Chloe, leaned in and whispered in my ear, "The Ainsworths only need one daughter. You're nothing but a stray they dragged home." For a long moment I believed her. So I stepped off the curb and walked into the oncoming headlights. Chaos followed. My new family chased me down, dragging me back to safety as if they were trying to hold their world together with their bare hands. Ethan gripped my shoulders, furious, warning me not to upset his precious sister again. I nodded, quiet and obedient. Later that night, I turned on the gas stove without lighting it and left a note on the counter. "I made Chloe sad, so I'll take everyone with me. That way no one has to worry anymore." When they found me, their faces looked like they were staring at something half alive. A few weeks later, at a party, Chloe and her friends backed me up to the pool. Their hands shoved me into the deep end. I didn't even try to swim. I sank until the water pressed hard against my ribs. Chloe eventually dove in, dragging me up by my hair, her mascara streaking down her face. "You idiot," she sputtered. "If you die, Mom and Dad will blame me." She hissed in my ear. "At least pretend to struggle next time." She didn't know the truth. I had fought before. Fought for breath, for life, for mercy. The reward had always been worse than dying. This was my 10th life. And all I wanted now was for it to end. Chlorine burned my throat when Ethan finally pulled me from the pool. I coughed on the tiles while Chloe's friends tripped over excuses. We were just messing around. She just sank like she wanted it or something. No normal person does that. Ethan wrapped his jacket around me. I forced a smile at Chloe. "Sister, you told me to get in the water, so I did." My voice stayed soft. "I always do what you say." Her whole body shuddered. Tears welled as our parents rushed over. "Mom, Dad, she's lying," Chloe cried. "She's trying to make it look like I hurt her." Her friend chimed in fast. "She jumped in on her own. We tried to help, but she wouldn't take our hands." I peeked out from behind Ethan, innocent as a scared child. I didn't refuse help. I just thought, if sister gives me an order, I have to do it perfectly. If I disappoint her, Ethan gets upset. Then you both get upset. I looked at each of them in turn. "So, tell me, what should I do to make everyone happy?" Silence drowned the patio. Ethan's fingers tightened painfully around my arm. "Sadie, stop." My father snapped for the housekeeper to take me to my room and call the doctor. He turned to Chloe with a voice she had never heard. "You come with me." She wilted instantly, tears spilling down her cheeks. I watched the confusion and fear in their eyes and wondered, yet again, what they wanted from me. When Chloe's poodle once ran away, she made me wear its collar, eat from its bowl, and curl up in the doghouse. Another time, she zipped me inside a sleeping bag, shoved me down a rocky slope, and laughed when I lay twisted and gasping. So I followed every rule, obeyed every command. Why were they still unhappy? The doctor visited. That night my mother came to my room with warm milk and a fragile smile. "Sadie, tell me the truth," she whispered. "Do you hate us?" I shook my head. "I don't hate anyone." "Then why do you do these things to yourself?" "I'm only trying to make everyone happy." Her eyes watered. "You're my real daughter. You don't have to earn anything." I set the glass aside. "But Chloe hasn't been happy since I arrived. Neither has Ethan." I lifted my gaze. Did bringing me home ruin everything? The question broke her. She gathered me into a trembling embrace. "No, Sadie, you are not a mistake." Her warmth reminded me of another life, when Chloe had cut her own hand, cried into this same hug, and watched me get locked in a dark storage closet. She had turned the gas knob outside, and told me I could leave once I learned not to hurt her again. Back then, I thought I had simply failed. Now my only wish was to stop breathing. The next day, my parents held a family meeting. Chloe cried until her voice cracked. I didn't push her. I was scared she'd replace me. Ethan rushed to defend her. "She's insecure, Mom. Look at Sadie. She's been with us a few weeks, and everything is falling apart. She's not normal." My father made a decision. They would find me a therapist. At the appointment, I answered every question honestly. "Why do you think about dying?" "Because it makes problems disappear." He tried to tell me people loved me. Love? I tilted my head. Like the woman at the orphanage who watched the other kids beat me? Or the man who locked me in a cage and called me good? Or my brother, who only touches me when I'm almost dead? I lowered my voice. "They don't love me. They're scared I'll die under their roof." I smiled politely. They want me fixed. But I'm not broken. I'm just doing what they want.
If they want me to die, I'll die.
Why is that wrong? The doctor froze, pen suspended in midair. He repeated everything to my parents. His final report was worse than any diagnosis. I wasn't delusional. I wasn't hallucinating. I was protecting myself in the only way I had learned, using self-destruction as a shield. One small push could make everything snap. My mother locked herself in her study. My father smoked until the balcony filled with ash. Ethan remained convinced I was manipulating all of them. Chloe hovered behind him like a trembling lamb, though I could see the silent relief in her eyes. I'll take care of her, Chloe vowed sweetly. I'll help her get better. The house grew heavier, the air brittle. My parents decided to send me to King's Academy with Chloe and Ethan. Chloe protested instantly. I don't want her there. Everyone will laugh at me. This time my father didn't budge. You don't get to choose. Her glare told me she'd make me pay. On my first day, the rumor mill exploded. The lost daughter of the Ainsworths was fresh from psychiatric care. Chloe's friends swarmed her with sympathy and side comments. Her eyes look empty. I heard she tried to blow up the family house. You should keep your distance, Chloe. Chloe offered a saintly smile. Don't say that. She's sick, not dangerous. With every gentle word, she painted me as something worse. Ink stained my books. A chalk line circled my desk. Compared to the orphanage, it barely registered. During gym, I was told to fetch basketballs from the equipment room. The moment I stepped inside, the door clicked shut and locked. The dark wrapped around me like an old memory. Chloe's friends giggled outside. A psycho like her belongs in a cage. Chloe, peek inside. No way, I'm not going near her. They left. 30 or 40 minutes until class ended. I sat down, hugged my knees, and drifted off to sleep. Later, a voice called through the door. Hey, crazy girl, you alive? Make a sound if you are. I ignored her. Her tone shifted. She's too quiet. What if she actually died? Chloe's voice cut through the chatter. If she dies, I'll still be alive to take care of Mom and Dad.
Come on.
She can open the door herself. Their footsteps faded. I closed my eyes again. Then smoke seeped under the door. Fire spread fast. Within minutes, I could barely breathe. I didn't scream. I didn't pound on the walls. I curled into a corner and held a basketball against my chest. Finally, a quiet way out. No cliffs, no water, no gas. Just peace. I was slipping away when the door exploded open. Ethan rushed through the flames, lifted me from the floor, and carried me outside. The crowd stared as he lowered me onto the grass. Chloe and her friends looked stunned and guilty, with a hint of something else. Disappointment. Ethan knelt beside me. Are you hurt? Can you breathe? I stared up at him through the haze. You saved me again. Brother, why did you stop me? I was so close. His expression twisted. He grabbed my shoulders. Why didn't you call for help? Do you really want to die? I didn't answer. I looked past him to Chloe. She flinched. I didn't start the fire. I don't know anything about it. Campus security arrived to report the cause. A wiring failure. Faulty circuits. Nothing to do with the girls. Relief echoed through the crowd. Chloe hurried toward me with trembling hands. Oh, Sadie, I'm so glad you're safe. We shouldn't have played around. She reached for me. I pulled back so sharply the whole crowd saw it. And then I screamed. Raw. Terrified. Broken. I'm sorry, sister. I'm sorry. I didn't want to stay in the dark room. I don't like it. Next time, can you pick a different way for me to die? The murmurs rose into loud whispers. People were finally connecting the dots. The frightened glances they used to give me turned toward Chloe. Wait, was the adopted daughter bullying the real one? That explains everything. Poor Sadie. No wonder she reacts like that. Chloe froze. Her friends went silent. That night, my parents returned to a quiet war in the living room. Chloe burst into tears first. Mom, she's lost her mind. She said she wants to kill me. Eleanor held her, but watched me with a colder gaze. I walked past them and stopped in front of my father. The fire was an accident, I said, but locking me in the room wasn't. I looked him straight in the eyes. Dad, you want to know what happened to me before you found me? I told him. 3 years in a space as small as that equipment room. Fed on scraps, forced to steal. Punished whenever I failed. Razor blades shoved into my mouth when I cried. A man who made a game out of locking us in the dark to see how long we'd survive. I recited it calmly, like numbers on a list. My father went pale. My mother choked on a sob. Ethan stared as if the floor had vanished under him. Then I turned to Chloe. So, sister, your joke wasn't funny to me. I smiled brightly. When I get upset, I want everyone to share the feeling. She screamed. Enough, my father snapped. He pointed at her, trembling with anger she had never faced. Go to your room. You stay there until I say otherwise. Chloe searched for support. Eleanor looked away. Ethan stayed silent. For the first time, she had no shield. And the curtain finally closed on her perfect little act. After the blaze and Chloe's confinement, Mother stopped pretending ignorance. She used every contact she had, digging into the past until a thick manila envelope appeared on her desk. Inside was a paper trail from ages 3 to 16, a file so detailed it made my history feel exposed. Police reports, witness statements, evidence from the trafficking ring that had taken me, all of it laid out in clinical type. One name had been circled, underlined, highlighted until it shone. 7. The notes described 7 as the smallest, the quietest, the child who surprised everyone by remembering faces and places. It was 7's sketch that finally let the police trace the ringleader's hideout. 7's testimony had toppled the whole network. 7 was me. Mother did not sleep. By morning she had sacked the household staff and hired trained security. She went to King's Academy and withdrew me immediately, insisting I remain home until I was truly well. Father did not argue. Ethan fell silent. Chloe stayed shut away, only seeing the person who delivered her food. For the first time, the house was a fortress. But I watched Mother's frantic care and felt nothing but an old, hollow emptiness. This was not love, only belated guilt trying to stitch over a wound that had long since stopped bleeding for me. Forgiveness was not a thing I was prepared to hand out like a trinket. Ethan's cruelty faded, replaced by clumsy attempts at repair, leaving plates of fruit by my chair, draping blankets over me when I nodded off. One afternoon, while I painted in the garden, he sat down beside me and broke the quiet. Sadie, I'm sorry. I kept painting, not looking up. You didn't know, he began. You didn't know what? That I was kept in a cage, or that men put cigarettes out on my skin. I rolled up my sleeve and showed him the faded, ugly scars. These were almost healed until Chloe reopened them with glass. The blood left his face. He lifted a trembling hand, then stopped, unable to touch. I hear your apology, I said, setting the brush down. But I don't accept it. If apologies fix things, why bother with police? Does a killer's sorry bring anyone back? He went pale, struck by the logic. Chloe lasted 2 weeks in solitary. At first she screamed and begged, then she grew small and compliant, sure she could charm her way back into their good graces. She misread the change. My mother did not soften. Eventually, Chloe slit her wrist with a hidden shard of porcelain. It was shallow, meant to rally sympathy, but it threw the household into new chaos. She was rushed to hospital, where she clung to my mother, pleading, promising to be good. My mother looked at her with a disappointment that had teeth. Do you remember the first day you came here? She asked. Chloe could not answer. Mother continued, calm and cold. You promised to be obedient. We believed you. We poured every bit of love and every scrap of guilt for losing Sadie into you. And you used it to learn how to perform and to hurt the one you should have protected. Chloe, you are my greatest disappointment. Then she left the room. Chloe tried to bargain, to wriggle free. Ethan, standing by the door, held her down. For the first time he spoke plainly. You used what she suffered as a weapon. You knew it would terrify her, and you forced her into it again and again. Did you ever imagine how you would feel if the roles were flipped? Chloe had no answer. Her hospital drama earned no mercy. On discharge, our parents told her they had contacted her birth family. She panicked, begged not to be sent back. My father's voice was flat when he answered. That is your family's business now. As of today, you are no longer connected to the Ainsworths. Her birth parents arrived the next day, a simpering, greasy pair whose smiles never reached their eyes. They performed gratitude, asked for assurances. When Mother told them to take their daughter home, the man's face shone with opportunity. We can sell her to you, he blurted, the words sliding out in a desperate offer. We'll agree on a price. Father slammed his hand on the table and expelled them from the house without another word. They seized Chloe, dragging and shoving, their voices rough with the language of their lives. Outside, we heard the man berate her, the woman bark orders about siblings and dinner. Their departure left a stillness, so heavy it pressed on my chest. Mother broke into quiet sobs. Father looked 10 years older. Ethan stared out the window, unmoving. I sat and watched, feeling neither triumph nor pity. Ethan came to me then, his eyes red-rimmed. "She came from that place too, didn't she?" he asked. "Which place?" I asked. "The place you told us about." I smiled, small and sharp. "Brother, did it really take you this long? Do you wonder why our parents adopted a girl who looked like me?" Color left his face. He understood then. The ugly coincidence unraveled at last. Ethan had been right all along. Chloe was one of the children taken with me. She was older by a year, known as 6 in that pit. She survived by being quick, charming, and able to mirror whatever the adults wanted. Compared to the rest of us, her days were easier. By the time my parents followed a lead to that remote village, I had already been sold again. They found only Chloe, locked in a shed and beaten so badly she could barely stand. And, because she resembled me, my mother mistook that resemblance for fate. They bought her freedom with a thick stack of cash and poured all the love meant for me into that small replacement. They never imagined the girl they raised like royalty was hiding a venomous heart. Ethan stared at me, guilt tearing at him, then he suddenly dropped to his knees. The sound echoed in the hallway. I took a step back in surprise. He bowed his head. His voice came out in a raw whisper. "Sadie, I'm sorry. If you want to scream at me or hit me, I'll take it. Whatever makes you feel lighter." I looked down at him, a faint spark of amusement flickering in my eyes. "You're misunderstanding something," I said calmly. "To me, you're no different from Chloe or any of the others who broke me. You're all the same. You're background noise. I don't care about any of you." I moved to walk around him, but he grabbed my ankle with a shaking hand. "Sadie, please. I know I've ruined everything, but we're still brother and sister. You can't change that. Give me one last chance. Let me earn something back." I stared at his hand on my ankle, silent for a long moment. "Fine." His head snapped up. Hope flickered, fragile and desperate. I knelt so our eyes were level and smiled at him with gentle innocence. "You want to repay me? It's simple." I pointed to the huge oak in the front yard. "Climb to the highest branch," I said quietly. "Then jump. If you survive, I'll forgive you." The hope on his face shattered like glass. After Chloe was taken away, the house fell into a suffocating stillness. My parents tried to gloss over the emptiness with gifts and lavish meals and constant attention, but none of it mattered. I existed in the same rooms as them, but never truly with them. They took me to a leading psychiatrist who diagnosed me with severe complex PTSD. Weekly therapy became routine. Ethan drove me every Saturday. We barely exchanged a word. He drove, I stared out the window. One afternoon, on our way home, a heavy storm broke. The downpour was blinding, the traffic lights glowing hazy through the sheets of rain. While we waited at a red light, a figure on the sidewalk drew my gaze.
Chloe.
She stood under a broken umbrella, arguing with a man outside a convenience store. He wore a stained tank top, his arm marked by a snake tattoo so familiar it made my stomach drop. It was him, the one who taught us to steal, the one who turned fear into a language. He snatched something from Chloe's hand and shoved her hard. She fell into a muddy puddle and burst into panicked sobs. He didn't spare her a single look, just walked away into the storm. The light turned green. Ethan eased the car forward. "Stop the car." He blinked at me through the rearview mirror.
"What?"
I said stop. My tone made him pull over without another word. I got out into the rain. Chloe looked up like she was seeing a ghost, scrambling to her feet. I didn't look at her. My focus was on the direction the man had gone. "Why is he here?" I asked. Her teeth chattered from the cold. "I don't know. I swear I don't know." "What did he take?" "He wanted me to steal for him." I said no, so he hit me. "He grabbed the money my parents gave me." I looked at her shaking form, then felt nothing. She wanted my life so badly that she had stepped into its darkness herself. Ethan rushed over with an umbrella. The moment he tried to help her up, I stopped him. "Don't touch her." He froze. "She chose this path." My voice was steady, even as the rain blurred my vision. Behind me, I could feel Chloe's bitter, hate-filled stare like a blade pressed between my shoulder blades. I never thought I would cross paths with that man again. That night, the house was empty except for me. My parents were out of town. Ethan was at a company event. I was alone. A faint thump woke me in the middle of the night. I slid out of bed, padded to the railing, and peered over into the dark living room below. 3 figures moved around the furniture, rifling through drawers. One of them was the man with the snake tattoo. Burglars. I didn't scream or reach for the phone on the wall. I simply locked my bedroom door and called Ethan. The party noise behind him was loud when he answered. "Hello. There are burglars in the house," I said, calm as a whisper. He went silent for a heartbeat, then his voice dropped low. "Hide somewhere safe. I'm leaving right now." "No need. Just call the police. Tell them the intruders are armed." He swore under his breath. "Sadie, do not do anything reckless." I hung up. From the back of my closet, I pulled out a heavy toolbox filled with items I had asked my mother to buy under the pretense of a hobby. I picked the tool I trusted most. Downstairs, the men were moving toward the staircase. The snake-tattooed man looked up and saw me standing at the top of the steps. He grinned, slow and cruel. "Well, look at that. Little 7, all grown up. Never imagined the Ainsworth princess was you." His cronies chuckled behind him. "Boss, she got pretty. Maybe we stay a while." He climbed toward me. "You caused me so much trouble back then. How are you going to repay me tonight?" I watched him approach without emotion. When his hand reached for me, I pressed the prongs of the high-voltage stun device to his neck. A blinding crackle of electricity lit the staircase. His body jerked violently, then toppled backward, crashing down the steps. His 2 companions stared at me in horror. I tilted my head, holding the stun gun lightly at my side, and gave them the same quiet, harmless smile I used to wear in that place. "So," I asked, "who wants to go next?" The police arrived at almost the same moment Ethan did. When the door flew open, they froze at the sight inside. 3 grown men were tied together in a tangled mess of extension cords on the living room floor. All of them were unconscious, battered, and moaning faintly. The room around them looked as if a storm had passed through. And I was sitting comfortably on the couch with a soda in hand, humming to myself while my feet rested on the table. When I noticed them, I lifted a hand in a polite greeting. "You made it." The officers simply stared, as if they were trying to make sense of a puzzle that shouldn't exist. Ethan rushed to me, panicked, grabbing my shoulders and checking for injuries. "Did they hurt you? Are you hurt anywhere?" I tilted my head. "Why would I be hurt? I'm fine. They are the ones in pieces." The lead officer cleared his throat once he regained some composure. He glanced between the men on the floor and me. "Miss, did you really take all 3 down on your own?" I nodded without hesitation. Ethan jumped in immediately. "I told you they had a gun." "I told you." "We didn't find any weapons," the officer replied. Ethan blinked at him, then looked at me like he had no idea who he was staring at anymore. I widened my eyes innocently.
Oh.
Then I must have been wrong. It was dark. The officers dragged the burglars out one by one. The man with the snake tattoo glared at me with such venom that it could have burned through stone. I didn't flinch. I knew exactly how long he would stay locked up. With his record and a home invasion on his file, he would never walk free again. When the house finally emptied, only Ethan and I remained in the wrecked living room. He stared at the destruction, then at me, still collected and calm. It took him a long while to speak. "Sadie, he started. "You want to know why I wasn't afraid?" I finished for him. I stepped closer. "There was a time when being alive felt unbearable," I said. "Every morning, I wondered how long I could keep going. But I don't think that way anymore." I met his eyes and spoke quietly, without trembling. "I realized something. It's a lot more interesting to erase people who deserve it."
Chloe.
That man. Every person who ever broke me. One by one, I'll make sure they face what they did. Ethan stared at the cold curve of my smile. It made him take an involuntary step backward. That was when he finally understood. I wasn't healed. I had simply redirected the madness. 1 year later, a letter arrived announcing I had been accepted to a university abroad. Ethan came to the airport to see me off. He handed me a small black box. "This is from our parents." Inside was a limitless credit card and a set of keys. "They bought a place for you near campus," he said. I closed the box and gave him a real, sincere, "Thank you." The surprise on his face was immediate. Then he smiled, a little sad, a little relieved. "Sadie, I hope you build a peaceful life over there. Try to let the past fade." I returned the smile. "I won't forget. But I'll try. I'll try to live like any ordinary person would. When the plane lifted off, the city shrank beneath the clouds. My chest felt lighter than it had in years. I had lived enough pain for 10 lifetimes, all to reclaim the 13 years torn from me. The past would not haunt me any longer. I was no longer 7, the girl who knew only fear and pleading.
I was Sadie Ainsworth now.
And if anything tried to drag me down again, I would be the one dragging it straight to the bottom first.